Okay, welcome everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ann Thomas, and I'm the president of the Hearing Loss Association of America, the Diablo Valley chapter. To have these virtual meetings, it takes a lot of behind the scenes working, and we have 3 additional board members who are working to admit people, to monitor when we have questions and answers and things like that. And I would like to introduce them. The vice president is Zohair Chiba. Zohair, could you just wave? Jill McFadden is our secretary. Jill usually handles Q&A. And our treasurer is Walt Bateman. Walt, can you wave? Thanks. So as we begin our meeting, we want to make sure that everybody easily learns how to use Zoom. Our virtual meetings and social distancing and everything are not going away anytime soon. And some of you, I'm sure, are really completely up to snuff about how to do everything in Zoom. But we also keep having brand new people come for the first time. So how we're going to start is we're going to start by giving directions on how to use Zoom. We like to let everybody know that this meeting is being recorded. If you do not want to be part of the recording, the only option you have is to leave the meeting. The options that we're going to talk about in giving Zoom preference are, of course, the single most important thing is the captions, right? All of us need to be able to use the captions, how to view a full transcript if you wanted to, how to use the chat window, and we request that when it's time for questions and answers that you raise your hand. Oops. So to turn on the captions, if you look at the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll see a menu bar. And it should look something like what you see in the black image here. See the CC closed caption icon? You need to click on that, and a drop-down window will open up with 3 options and what you need to do to turn on, and it's odd. They call it closed captions on the icon, but then on the drop-down window, they call it subtitles, go figure. But you need to turn on the subtitles. You also have the option to be able to increase the size of the subtitles on your screen. In order to do that, it's in the same location as the closed captions. And see the caret that looks like this? It's an upward facing arrow. The third item in the drop-down window is subtitle settings. And if you click on that, another window will open up and there's a slider bar and you can increase the size of your captions. You also have an option of viewing the captions in a full screen. And in order to do that, you have to open up a new window in your browser. And we've waited to post what the address for that would be. And our captioner, Corey, will post the address in the chat window if you want to see it as a full transcript. And what that happens when it's in a separate window, you see a full big window rather than you can also see view transcript. See here in the drop-down window in the black section, but it's just a tiny little window on the side. So you have 2 options. So these are the directions for the full transcript in a separate window. So you open the window in your browser, you paste the URL, which Cora will put in the chat, and then you can resize, make that window any size you want. Something that's very, very, very important is that everybody open their chat window. If you don't open your chat window, what you will see is every time on your screen somebody posts something in the chat, it pops up and interferes with the captions. So you open the chat window and you see it circled there. And if by some chance on a Mac you don't need to do it, on a Windows you do, You'll see another little chat box that's pictured in number 2 to the right. And if you click on the caret, it says pop out. And by popping it out, it allows you to move that chat screen anywhere on your window. So you need to move it away from the captions. Feel free to use the chat to talk to everybody, ask technical questions. We'd like to ask that you identify yourself by name, chapter, location. This morning, we have people from all over the United States on this call, and including Gail, who's coming to us from Canada. You can imagine with tons of people on a video call, it would be impossible to figure out who to call on by just raising your hand in your video image. So we ask that you utilize the raise the hand feature that's part of Zoom. And in order to do that, see the menu bar, it says participants. When you click on that, what's going to happen is the window that's pictured on the right opens up, and in the bottom left-hand corner, see that little hand that looks like this? It says raise hand. Well, you click on that. And when you click on that, those of us who are working behind the scenes, what we see is on your video image, a blue hand comes up so that we know that that person wants to be called on. And also next to your name, there's a blue hand that shows up. And the hands show up in the list in the order in which people raised their hand. So it's easy to keep track of who raised their hand first. We'd like to ask that everybody speak a little bit slower to aid in understanding. That's not only for our captioner to make it easier for her to transcribe what's being said, but also for everybody who's participating. I know that sometimes when I give presentations, I get nervous. And when I get nervous, I talk faster. So if there's someone who's talking too fast, just put a little note in the chat asking somebody to slow down. I'd like to remind everybody that Zoom and all the video conferencing software programs work better for everyone if you use an external microphone. It increases the clarity of what people hear. And this is my external microphone, so you can have an idea. One thing before we get started that I'd also like to remind people about is actually two things. Please remember, if you have your video on, you don't want to do anything because people all over the country are watching this. So if by some chance you want to blow your nose or scratch in an inappropriate place, just turn off your video. And the place to be able to turn off your video is in the bottom left-hand corner of your menu bar. And one other thing I'd like to let people know about is Zoom has just, they keep updating it and changing it all the time. So from meeting to meeting, there are new features. So one of the new features, which is really wonderful, is you can drag the captions. So the default is the captions are at the bottom of the screen. But let's say that you like them someplace else. You can drag them to the right. You can drag them to the left. You just need to press down with your mouse and drag. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? Is everybody okay? Okay, so it's my great pleasure to introduce the infamous, funny, extraordinary hearing loss advocate, Gael Hannan. And Gail is a humorist as well as an advocate. And if you have never heard her before, this is the HLAA DV gift to you to start the holiday season being uplifted in this time of great difficulty. So Gail, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's all yours. Thank you so much for joining us. So all you need to do is share your screen. Oh.
You're muted, Gail.
Now you can hear me, right? That's good? Okay. Thank you for that introduction. And so with all the things that we can't do, like speak too fast, scratch our nose in public, do all of these other things, that's all I can think about now, that I hope I don't get itchy during this presentation. So it's great. At first, when I came into the room, I thought, oh, I don't know too many people here, but I am thrilled to see a number of you that I've met. Everyone looks familiar, and I think that just comes from living a long time. When we've lived a long time, everybody looks familiar. So anyway, I'm delighted to be here. I have to be honest, I had to look up Diablo Valley because I wasn't sure where it was. And but I see that you're in one of my favorite areas, near the Bay Area. I have a stepson living in San Jose. And so it is, we go down there quite frequently. So I'm just way bit north of you in Canada on Vancouver Island. I'm about as far west in Canada as you can get. And but it's really nice to be here with you today. A little bit about me and my hearing loss. You know, whenever you get a person with hearing loss, you give them the mic, they want to share their story. So, but just a little bit about me. I was born with sensorineural hearing loss, which was with no known cause. It's very common, discovered at age 2, very common. It was mild as a child, and but the doctors would not let me get a hearing aid. In my teen years, my hearing loss was moderate. I wasn't allowed to get a hearing aid. Then finally, at the age of 21, I switched doctors, went to a different one myself, and I had a hearing aid within a month and changed my life. So I've worn a succession of hearing aids through the years, finally going bilateral at age 40. And then 4 years ago, I had a cochlear implant on one side. So I'm bimodal, hearing aid one side, cochlear implant the other, and I'm bimodal. At one, I did make a mistake once. I was excitedly telling someone about it, and I told them that I was bisexual, which is not what I am. Which is not what I am. So I am bimodal, and I think you need to. I heard some people laughing, so if you can mute yourself. No, you can laugh. Please laugh. But I think you're. There we go. So, but it's great to hear people laughing. Thanks. So anyway, that's who I am. I've been involved with hearing loss advocacy ever since I was about 40. That was when I was expecting a baby, and I realized I didn't know anyone else with hearing loss. I didn't know anything about how to be a mom with hearing loss. And I reached out to the equivalent of HLAA in Canada, the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association, and it was life-changing for me. And I've been involved with HLAA since 2002, when I was the keynote speaker at the annual convention, and it was amazing. I've just become very involved in speaking at different conferences, and I'm so full of admiration of your organization and what you do. HLAA is the world standard for hearing loss advocacy, and there's no other country that does it quite like you do. So what are we going to talk about today? Talk about trying to keep our sanity and keep on hearing as best as we can in a world that's gone somewhat crazy, a lot crazy. And I'm not going to talk about politics, and I'm not going to talk about the pandemic, except where we're going to talk about masks. But mask is kind of the key thing that we need to talk about. Excuse me just a sec, I'm trying to, we're going to talk a little bit about our self-identity as people with hearing loss. and we're going to talk about bluffing. All of these things you've probably heard 1,000 times, but which it's always good to keep hearing to remind us how we can be at our best, our optimal communication selves, so that we can keep hearing and keep communicating. Communication is the glue that connects people to each other, and hearing loss can kind of melt that glue. So there's things that we need to do, things we want to do to stay connected. So we're going to talk about all that stuff and a little bit about some pandemic strategies, and then my time will be up. So let's get going. So what makes us insane? What makes us challenged in this world, the world, virtual world and the real world? Number one, you can sort of read them in any order here, but conversations are zip lines. And I think you know what I mean by that. So you're with 2 or 3 other people, and someone says something. So, okay, right, you're speaking, but then this person over here answers, and by the time you look over there, this person is, and you get totally lost. And that can lead to stress and exhaustion. The sheer energy that we put into conversing. You know, I only realized just a few years ago that this is my default face, is this frown face. And I did not know that until I saw a few videos of myself, and I went, whoa. It explained to me, it made sense why my mother growing up, she always said, smile, Gail. And I would go, I am. And I realized this comes from having to focus and frown. And it brought these permanent wrinkles here that I'm considering Botox, but I don't want to have one of those faces, right? So the stress and exhaustion can build up, and there's simply too much noise that interferes with us understanding speech, noise that just tires us out. It's hard with all this noise going on. I'm hearing bells going off, and I'm just assuming that's from people entering the room. Is it? Okay, well, that's good news. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't, going wingity dingity here. So too much noise and not enough light. You know, we're the people that go around switching lights on and making people turn so that we can see their face in the light. There's no text interpretation. With the captioning that you're seeing today, this is only relatively recent, as I'm sure you know. In the last 10, 25 years, we've been able to have these captions on our TV, and now they're coming up on our smartphones. It's wonderful. You need to know that there are a lot of countries in the world that do not have the level of access on television that we have here in North America. And many things that are delivered through audio, we need to access them through visual, being able to see the words or see the sound being made, speech reading, etc. What makes us insane? Seating arrangements don't work. This is especially challenging in the usual holiday seasons when we're able to get together with our whole family around the table. So for many of us, unfortunately, that's not a problem we're going to have to deal with this year. But one of the key things is we don't know how to change things. And even if we knew what needs to be changed, we don't know how to express our needs. And this is something that takes a long time. Even me, I never started being really assertive about my needs, again, until I became involved with other people with hearing loss back in the dark ages, back in my 40s. So, and also the bluffing, and we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about masks. Oh, wait a minute. I want to go back here. Sorry. I've got different things. So how can we change all that? I'm sure that if I ask you, how many of you feel that you really got this hearing loss thing down, that you're really in control of it, that quite a few of you would put your hands up, but some of you may not. And let me tell you, there are days when I feel like I don't have control of it. bad hearing days that I allow myself to pout and sulk because I've got this thing and I can't hear the birds in this, but there are ways to change it. And how are we going to do that? So I do want to talk about masks. So masks have been the go-to fashion accessory of the year. We all have, at first we had those ugly ones, and now I've got this lovely, pretty ones. You want to choose the mask that works for you. And I think for most of us right now, we would love to see clear masks. We would like to, I like the face shields that have come out. The face shields are great, but often people wear face shields with masks underneath, like my audiologist, which I'll show you a picture of her in a moment. But the problem with masks is we can't understand what's being said. Even the hearing people, I don't know if there are any hearing people. That's what we people with hearing loss call those of you who can hear. Even hearing people are struggling because of the sound degradation that when speech is muffled by the mask and not able to hear those little speech sounds that make sense. And we can't see those speech sounds. Like when we are speech reading, even when you don't realize it, we're seeing sound being made on our lips and facial expressions. When you only have the eyes, we're getting very little of that information. And I remember when the pandemic first hit, this was my first mask, a bright green one. You could see me from the moon. And I went to the grocery store, nervous. We were all nervous back then. We weren't sure exactly what was going on and how could we get this horrible disease. So I had my mask. And this was before people started using the plexiglass and things. So I put my vegetables in milk. It's my turn to speak to the cashier, and she went, sorry. I'm not understanding what you said. Are you asking me if I want bags? And this went on, and I could feel my face getting redder and redder, and people were lining up behind me. Someone was trying to yell to me what this person was saying, and then so finally somehow I got through. And I remember this person said something like, it sounded like, which sounded like, have a nice day. And I did something that I was so embarrassed. I somehow assumed since I couldn't understand her, she might not be able to understand me. So instead of saying anything, I bowed. Not just a little bow, I bowed from my waist. And then turned around, and I was so embarrassed, and I got out of the store as fast as I could. Said, I bowed. What was I thinking? Now, things have become better since then. And I quickly realized that it's okay. If you simply can't understand what's going on and you don't have another way of getting the information, it is okay. If you are distanced, to say, I have hearing loss and I'm not understanding what you're saying, and I would like to know what you're saying. Could you lower your mask a bit just so that we can get this deal done and we can both get on with our day? And for the most part, people are happy to do it, especially if they feel safe. It's all about feeling safe. So mask, it's something that they're going to be with us for a while. And here, this was something I tried early on. Before masks became really plentiful and just like hand sanitizer, you couldn't get any. I saw this idea. So these are, yes, a pair of men's gotchis. And I had read how you could turn that into a mask. But it really, I think, was probably a little frightening. I only wore it out once, and I decided that it really wasn't showing my best side. But I thought it was very innovative. And it was a bit scary too. So, but clear masks, I would love to have a whole pile of clear masks. So whenever I come across someone, say, here, please wear this. But at $20 a pop, I can't really do that. But I think they're becoming more commonplace. Except you can see in that one picture there, you tend to look a little bit like Hannibal Lecter, and they fog up. They're kind of scary. The one on the left of the screen is a little bit better. But anyway, if you're like me, you have a fine selection of fashion masks. I don't like wearing them, but I have to. So this is my audiologist. The day I went in, my cochlear implant tinnitus audiologist. She wore the face shield and the mask, and we were separated by 2 chairs. A few minutes into the conversation, she took off the mask and just wore the shield, and it worked. But necessity is the mother of invention. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to keep from going insane and how to keep communicating. One of the most important things, and I can't stress strongly enough how important this is we have to be honest. It's one of the first rules that I learned. If I want to succeed with my hearing loss, I've got to be honest. I have to let people know that I have hearing loss. I have to let people know that in this moment now, I'm having a hard time understanding, and this is what we need to do. So when we can let people know without shame that we have hearing loss and we just need a few things to change, including how they speak, communication will improve. It's really important to know that you have the right to participate. You know, people say, well, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to stop the conversation. They're having such a great time. And I would say to that, yes, but without you, you're not in that conversation, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be. So this is like my number one rule about living well with hearing loss. So as I said, you need to understand and believe that you have the right to participate. You have the right to hear, and you have the right to be heard. And we need to learn effective two-way strategies so this conversation can happen. Whether it's in your home with your family, or when you're out at the grocery store, when you're at meetings. Those of us who spent a lot of time going to hearing loss meetings and conventions and conferences, that is the best possible listening situation. We feel very safe there. Captions are provided. People are understanding if we have to say pardon 3 times, and we work out a way to fix that up. So, and we need to take what happens there and bring it out into our lives and say, well, listen, if you just turn your face a little bit, then I can see your beautiful new lipstick that you're wearing. So if you can see that face, then you can understand them. And we have to be assertive about it. Some people go, oh, no. They'll ask them to speak up, and they go, okay. Then they go back down to their normal level. We have to be assertive in saying, I'm not really understanding you because you have a soft voice. I have hearing loss. We are not a match made in heaven. So what if we move over to a quieter place? And we need to be able to explain to our family and friends why never mind is hurtful. When you say pardon, and they go, oh, don't worry about it. Well, I'm not going to worry about it. All I want you to do is repeat what you said. Because if it wasn't worth repeating, let me be the judge of that. And if it wasn't worth repeating, don't say it in the first place, right? So that people know that when we're told to never mind or don't worry about it, it hurts us. It's dismissive. It's like we're not worth the effort. And we need to express that. My husband, the hearing husband, knows that if he were to say never mind to me, I just don't want him. No, he knows that is the one thing he can't do. we have to understand, on the other side of things, we have to understand the impact that our hearing loss has on our family and friends. If we have hearing loss, it affects them. They want to help us, but they can easily get frustrated, but so can we. So there has to be a dialogue. With my best friends, even after we've been friends for decades, there are times when we have to sort of recalibrate and say, this situation isn't working. So this is when we understand these things and accept them, then we're headed in the right direction. So if I say to you, how many people here bluff? Put up your hand if you bluff. Well, I can only see 3 or 4 people and no one put their hands up. So if you didn't put your hand up, if you think you don't bluff, then I know you're bluffing. We all bluff. It's what we do. Even hearing people bluff. But if we are not mentally present, if we don't stay involved in a conversation because of poor acoustics or the way they speak, then what happens? We either drift off or we pretend to understand. We go, all these bluff faces, that there's that Mona Lisa smile. There's that sort of blank face where we just kind of go, and this is something I'm pretty good at. Now, we can be active in our bluffing. We can do things that try and convince them that we're following them when we don't have a clue. Like I'll go, really? And then you hope that they don't ask you a question because you're going to get caught. So bluffing is, we'll talk a bit more about it, but bluffing is the #1 negative strategy that people with hearing loss use, and it has a negative impact on our conversation. So how do we stay connected? How do we stay present in the conversation and not bluff? Well, be open about our needs, change the environment, verify and clarify. Did you say go for lunch on Thursday? Okay. Use our assistive listening devices. Keep up with the topic. This is something I do have a problem with, that conversation zip line. And every once in a while, I'll kind of pound the table and say, what the heck are we talking about now? You do lose track of the conversation. I mean, I don't expect someone to say, and now I'm going to talk about the weather. That doesn't happen. So you want to get people to help you when the conversation changes. So for those of you who admit to bluffing, be aware of the bluff patterns. Like, if you go to a dark restaurant, you're probably going to be struggling to hear. So bluffing goes on there. So you want to anticipate the barriers. Pick a restaurant, when we can go back to restaurants, that is not as noisy, brighter, and make our friends and family our partners in kicking the habit, right? So my husband can tell if I'm bluffing, because usually I might be looking off and he'll just kind of give me the eye and I go, okay, right. We need to find the courage to say, I'm not following this conversation. And we could think to ourselves, and it doesn't sound like an interesting conversation anyway, but still, we need to stay connected. So we anticipate the barriers. Noise, lightning, too many people, and the lighting. We don't do dark. And doing groups of people, better in smaller numbers. Seating, indoor, outdoor, like outside with a group of people, I find that the sound just goes off into the atmosphere. So text interpretation, assistive devices, I've already mentioned. We need to anticipate the situation and how can we change these things or adjust them so that it works for us. It's all about us. Technology. Now, because Juliet Sturkins is here, I haven't got it listed here, but telecoils. I was just writing about this the other day. So hearing aids and cochlear implants. Today, people almost have to ask to have a telecoil put in their hearing aids, but I still remember the day. And I think it was one of the HLAA conventions. And I had just discovered the joys of telecoil. And I entered the back of the convention hall, and I walked in and turned on the telecoil, and it was amazing. The speaker was like 200 feet away, and it was like he was here in my ears, in my head. And I was just where the wire, like the loop, and I stepped back over it, couldn't hear. Stepped forward, I could hear. And I just did this because I was so thrilled. And someone came up and said, what are you doing, Gail? Are you dancing? I said, yes. It was just amazing. The joy of telecoils, the joy of looping, the joy of cochlear implants, and streaming technology. That's what I'm doing now. I'm streaming through my mini mic to my, now mind you, I'm not quite at the pinnacle of wireless streaming. So through my cochlear implant, my remote for my resound hearing aid, I use the cell phone to stream. So I'm talking about 5 or 6 devices here, but that's okay. I can hear. External microphones, Anne talked about that. And Anne, that was a really big external microphone. It looked like a soccer ball. What? Can you hold it up for me? Didn't even, okay, right. Okay, thank you. That'll, interesting. So an external mic, I'm actually, the streaming is the same thing. Captioning, thank you, captioner. I know Anne said everyone to speak slowly, but as you can tell, I'm not the world's slowest speaker. I try to slow myself down. Speech to text apps. I hope you all use them. And this is one thing I have used in this masked pandemic. I use Otter, and I have used it in a store, but it helps to have it already open or ready to go, and then explain what you're doing. And it's amazing how much it picks up. When I'm on a Zoom conference, a Zoom call where there are no automatic captions, and this is the thing with Zoom, they don't offer free captions at the level that most of us use it. I can use Otter that will pick up the speech to text, but if I'm streaming, this can't hear anything. So I have to find a way to use streaming and speech to text app at the same time. So if there's any technical geniuses out there who can help me with this, I would appreciate it. And TV technology. If any of you have been using a TV streamer, you probably know the joy of it, is that it streams the TV to my ears, and the hearing husband can listen to it at his own volume. So it's really a relationship saver. So all this amazing technology. I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is all the stuff we should know. Speakers should have your attention, model good communications, speak one at a time, all of these things. I'm making this presentation available to you afterwards if you want to. This is all the basic stuff that we should know. And get comfortable in fixing the place to manipulate your environment. Okay? You need to have good sight lines, all of this stuff that we've been talking about. And you need to make it part of what you do. Wherever you go, this is what you do. And people know you're coming, we better turn up the lights and keep the noise down. People will know you for that. As I move towards the close, I want to show you this. This is called the mask of hearing loss. But I want to tell you a story first. It's a yes story and no story. And I just also want to say about Juliet Sturkin. When I saw that she was here, I sent her a text and going, are you a glutton for punishment? Juliet has seen my presentation so often that if I were to suddenly pass out here, just hand the mic over to Juliet and she will give my presentation for me. So, but yes stories and no stories. The first one is the no story. A million years ago, when I was in my 20s, I was living in Vancouver, and I was dating a nice guy. I'd been dating him for a while. I can't remember his name, so I just call him this nice fellow. So one night, this nice fellow and I were out on a date. We were going for a walk along the beach. Now, people with hearing loss know, we go, oh, well, that's not a good listening situation. It's dark, can't read the lips. You're walking in the same direction, can't read the lips. And big waves are coming in, which kind of interfere in speech. It was not a good listening situation. Anyway, this nice fellow said something, and I didn't quite catch it. So I don't know, maybe I had said pardon once too often that night, and I didn't want to say it again. So I could tell by the way, the sound of the question, that it was kind of a yes answer or a no answer kind of thing. Yes, no. So I figured 50-50, I'd get it right. So I guessed. And I said, no, right away. I could tell by his face that that was not the expected answer. Now, the me today would say, oh, sorry, nice fellow. Perhaps I misunderstood you. Would you mind repeating yourself? But not me back then. No, I just repeated myself. I repeated myself and went, no. End of relationship. I never saw that nice fellow again. And to this day, I have no idea what he asked me. I mean, but I can guess. He probably said something like, I really like you, Gail. Do you like me? No. We've been going out for a while now, Gail. Do you want to keep going out? No. End of relationship. And, even though I can't remember his name, I liked him. Anyway, fast forward a few years, and I was dating another nice fellow whose name I know. Name is Doug. In fact, we were living together. And one morning when I woke up, if you're like me, when you wake up with no hearing devices, no contact lenses, you're just a little challenged. But he was only one pillow away. I opened my eyes and I saw this. Now, pretty sure I thought back to that fellow on the beach, that important question that I mucked up the last time. So I did what we should always do as people with hearing loss. I verified and I clarified. I didn't want to muck this one up. So I said, probably loudly, because I didn't have my hearing aids in, Doug, I think I just saw your lips say, let's get married. Did your lips just say, let's get married, Doug? And he went. So I said, and we did. And it had a happy ending, but it took a few years. Now, maybe it's a good thing, because if I hadn't got the question wrong back in my 20s, I'd be married to some nameless guy living on a beach. Anyway, when you bluff, you get into trouble, guaranteed. And I know every single person with hearing loss has a story about how they laughed at the wrong time and said inappropriate things because they were bluffing and were not present in the conversation. So I beg of you, please don't bluff. So a little bit of a pictorial here on the mask of hearing loss. Sometimes people with hearing loss do all the talking, taking center stage. This way we don't have to try and understand anyone else. Sometimes we hide our masks, pretending to follow, but becoming more lost with every word, too proud to say, I don't understand you. Could we find another way? Our masks are different, yet the same. We ask the people to play our game. Please, pretend you don't know that I don't know what we're talking about. That's interesting. Let me think about that. But don't ask me any questions. Oh my goodness, that's very interesting. Yes, thought-provoking. Actually, I have no idea what we're discussing. Do I look like I'm intelligently following your fabulous dissertation on, well, whatever subject you said you study? Everyone else has this look on their face, so I'm wearing it too. But I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be feeling. I'm with you all the way. You're saying great things, says my little smile of enjoyment. Uh-oh, everyone's laughing. I better laugh too. Yes, I love these family gatherings, all these nice little children with their high, sweet little voices saying, actually, I have no idea what they're saying. They mumble. She said, what? Amazing. Help, help, I am totally lost. I can't take this anymore. Let's drop these masks and say, would you mind speaking up? I have hearing loss. Thank you so much. Now let's have a great chat. Let's reclaim our lives and ban the bluff. This is the no bluff pledge that when I first wrote it, doing presentations, had put them on little cards, and some people still carry those cards as a reminder. And I have to remind myself every day too, not to bluff. And the pledge goes, in my life, I will not bluff. I will not pretend to understand when I do not. Instead, I will do all that it takes to engage, interact, and communicate. If I thought I could be 100% bluff free, I would tell you that, but I can't. It happens to me, it happened to you, but we will benefit if we try to bluff less. I'm gonna check time. So, Zoom pooped. This isn't really a thing, I just made it up, but if you're like me, you spend a lot of time on your laptop or your computer connecting with people on Zoom or Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, all sorts of platforms now, and it's wonderful. It enables us to get together in a way that we can't right now in this horrible year of 2020. But it can be exhausting as well. So if you find that you're on it too much, here's a few ideas. Take Zoom breaks. Who knows, maybe a couple of you have been sneaking out of the room while I've been chatting, but I mean, that would be okay. Sometimes we just need to take a break. Limit the number of virtual daily meetings. One of the reasons we have is that our eyes get very tired as speech readers, and also using computers and being inside a lot, the air is drier, and dry eye has actually been a thing coming out of this pandemic and spending time on computers. Keep the Zoom meeting short and stream if possible. I bet we all have different ways that we're connected, but stream if possible, or use headset, because the sounds are right in your head and they make you feel close. Like all of our children, Doug's and mine, are spread around the continent, but when we have these meetings and I'm streaming, it's like they're close to me, like I'm holding them, they're in my heart already, but it feels like they're just next to me, and that's really an important feeling. Keep volume at a comfortable level and do eye exercise. Close your eyes hard and open them, keep them closed for a while, and use eye drops. Captioning, we have CART provided today, so I really send a lot of love to the CART provider for a bit of a challenge, I know, but in our everyday meetings, we don't have CART usually, so having ASR, which is automated speech recognition, and it's amazing what the technology, what it's done today. Google Meets provides it free. Microsoft Teams, Zoom, the free captioned are, you have to be like a $200 a month subscriber. So Zoom, that's one downside of Zoom. But captioning, or as I said before, your speech to text apps. Avoid multitasking when you're trying to do other things while you're connecting. People with hearing loss, again, we need to stay connected. We need to speech read. And that's why this is wonderful. In speaker view, you can be watching my lips and hopefully understanding everything I'm saying, almost better than if the person is live. I'm actually taking a course right now on meditation to help and mindfulness to help deal with profound tinnitus. And I haven't been able to take the course before because I haven't been home 8 weeks in a row in years, but now it's virtual and it's wonderful. So I'm able to learn how to meditate, and it through this program. I would not have been successful if I was sitting in a room with 16 people trying to do it. So the many things that Zooming has allowed us to do, it's amazing. And again, we need to let other people know, if they're not people with hearing loss, that we need them to have the light on their face. We need to be able to see their lips. Background noise, keep muted if you're not the one speaking, and just let people know what you need. And hopefully we won't have to do this too much longer. Another few months we'll be back somewhat to normal. But I think one thing, life has changed. There's certain things about this that won't change, and the virtual technology has been a blessing for us in the really, really rough time. So just a summary: how to stay sane and hearing. Believe in your right to hear and be heard. Commit yourself to communicating and doing what it takes to do it. Please don't bluff. I'm not asking you to do that for me. Do it for yourself. Recognize your successes, no matter how small. It takes time to develop the advocacy that works for us, and getting all the tools in the right place. Forgive yourself for the bad hearing moments. If you bluff, try again next time, and keep learning. Use resources, stay connected. And that's what HLAA is brilliant for. And that's why we're here today, is sharing what we know. Anyway, that's it. I want to thank you for your time on this Saturday morning up here in Vancouver Island. It's sunny, which isn't always the case. It's been raining all week. So I appreciate your inviting me to come and speak with you here today. So thank you very much.
Everyone, I'd like to let you know a new feature in Zoom so that Gail can really feel the delight that we've had in her presentation. If you look at the bottom of the menu bar, you'll see like a smiley face thing that says reactions. If you click on that, one of them is clapping hands. So when you do that, see on everybody's face that shows clapping hands. Gail, thank you so much for giving us such a wonderful, inspiring reminder about how important we are as people with as unique individuals and people with hearing loss, and how humorously you presented the situations that we all confront every single day, no matter where we go, no matter what happens, even when we're really good at advocating for ourselves. I hope that everybody has an opportunity. Gail gives other presentations that are completely humorous. Today was more educational. And I'm sure throughout the upcoming year, HLAA will invite Gail to do other presentations. Gail, didn't you do an HLAA webinar in July?
I think so. Yeah.
So you were walking around your house?
What that was. Well, I want to back up a bit. You didn't tell me I was supposed to be funny the whole time, Anne. I mean, I could have done funny stuff the whole time. You got to be more specific in your act. No, that was for the walk for hearing, and they asked me, so I did a little video when I walked around my house doing my exercise routine inside my house. Yeah.
So keep your eye out for future announcements of Gail's performances, and we advertise those through our email marketing, through our MailChimp. So please keep your eye out for that. Now I'd like to share the rest of, we have some other pieces of our presentation today. Oops. Maybe I'll get my screen to move. See, Gail, I asked you about this. See, I have a problem advancing my slides. Oh, there we go. So the first thing that we'd like to remind everybody of is that our chapter is an HLAA, our membership organizations. And if you are not a member, we'd like to invite you to please join us. We need your support. And this image right here is a picture of our Diablo Valley website. And if you look on there, but obviously my circle is not in the right place, it should be up higher. See where you see it says membership? When you click on that tab, this is the window that opens up, and the price structure is there. You can either become a member via using a credit card, via online, via PayPal, but you don't have to have a PayPal account, or you can print and mail the registration. Our meetings would never be complete if we didn't have a muffin from Bob. Bob is Bob Zastro. And I think for 20 plus years, at the end of every single Diablo Valley chapter meeting, Bob distributes homemade muffins. So since we actually can't experience that in person, maybe we can all remember what it tasted like to have one of those whole muffins. So this is the point in time when we have questions and answers or comments. We're going to open that up. So if anybody has anything that they would like to ask Gail or like to ask any of us, please feel free to do so. I also think that I missed a slide. And the slide is because there are, oh, here we go. The next week is so filled with upcoming events. There's no way anybody needs to feel left out from not being able to participate in something having to do with hearing loss. So on January 7th, Hamilton Relay is giving a presentation that's open to everybody. December 10th, Ava is having an invitation only presentation, a panel discussion, conversations of the future of accessibility. On the 12th is a double hitter. In the morning is the East Bay chapter virtual holiday gathering, and that starts at, I think you can start signing on at 9:30. At 1 is the HLAA California joint virtual meeting, and it's going to be a holiday open house. And Katie Wright is here today, and she's the president of HLAA California, and she's invented the most wonderful icebreaker. That's a game, a visual game where you look at images, and then after that, there are questions and answers about what you saw in the image. So there's a timed amount of how long you get to see something. And I've been working on it a little bit with her, and I have to tell you, it's really, really fun. She actually tried out one for Thanksgiving with her family. And Katie, I'm going to tell a story. I hope it's okay. One of her sons, who's obviously an adult, was kind of poo-pooing this kind of event. But by the time they really got into it, his competitive spirit with himself took over and really thoroughly enjoyed it. On December 13th, the HLAA North Bay of California, which is actually for all of you who live in California, it's Marin and Santa Rosa, is having their virtual holiday party. So if anybody would like to participate in these events, I think that what I'll do is I'll send out a MailChimp listing how to get access for them. It's kind of useless to do it on our meeting slide here because you can't access it from that. So, and if something happens and I forget to do that, I want to let all of you know I have an exciting week coming up this next week. So on Friday, I'm going to be getting a cochlear implant. So I have a lot of things on my plate, kind of anticipating this, and with the situation of the coronavirus in the Bay Area, every single day something more is getting locked down. And I mean, I'm looking every day to make sure that non-essential medical procedures are still going to be happening. So if something happens and I forget, just remind me. And our tech super wonderful guy, Alan Katsura, if I forget to do that, I'm feel 100% sure that he can post that for us in coordination with Zohair. So we have the muffins. So now we're back to Q&A, and Jill McFadden usually handles the Q&A, and it's open to everybody. So please go to the participants button and raise your hand. Raise your hand or provide some kind of information that you might have about an event that you're having. I saw Geneva raise her hand.
Thanks. Thanks for opening this up to everybody. I'm calling from Oregon, thanks to Juliet. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit, you've got the ADA slide up. Some of the, what's happening vis-a-vis hearing loss ADA issues now in the next month, in the next 3 years, next 5 years? What can we be doing at the legislative levels in our states, nationally?
Who are you directing that question to?
You. You. I figure you're dialed into that. But anybody, if anybody's more connected, you know, I'm thinking about some of the state legislation that's been happening around the country. I know New Mexico and Washington, some of the other states have done some local or statewide.
Yeah. So in California, we launched a Get in the Hearing Loop initiative, a legislative initiative. I think it was Tony Barrett, if you're here, please pipe in. 4 years ago, and the lobbies for the audiologists and the hearing healthcare providers were much stronger than we were, and the bill never really got out of the House. And so in talking with them since that time, they absolutely, completely, totally resented the fact that anybody would try to tell them what to do. And as part of a piece of that bill, they agreed to create a document informing people about telecoils. And the document is obscure. It was never in print. It's like, it was just lip service to educating about that issue. So as you know, California is huge. I mean, it's like California is the size of the whole Eastern Seaboard. So at this time, I don't believe that there's any great impetus to launch a telecoil bill or something like that, because we're really trying to maintain the life of all of our chapters. You know, it takes a tremendous amount of work during this time to be able to do that and stay connected. So that's the best I can answer that. Something that has really come to the forefront is that something that we really need to do, though, is address the issue in healthcare. So I have had everybody who's here, part of our chapter, who knows me, knows that I am a very outspoken advocate. I have been advocating at UCSF for over 7 years, and I've had the most unbelievable difficulty getting the communication access that I needed to be able to participate with my physician as well as in virtual meetings. So that's really something that's on the forefront here more than telecoil, because see, my telecoil really doesn't do me any good with a mask either. So does anybody else have another question? Another comment? Did everybody have a nice Thanksgiving? Oh, come on. Jill, you going to call on Alan there?
Hi, I just wanted to make a comment about the clear mask. I have found that clear mask really reduce the clarity of consonants and everything. So you get the benefit of the visual of seeing the person's lips, but the reduction of volume and clarity, I find they're not worth it. I was just wondering if everybody else has that same experience.
Yeah. So Alan, I completely agree with you. In medical appointments that I've had, the clear masks were not enough for my level of hearing loss. The only way that I have been able to communicate with people is via an automatic speech recognition app. One medical appointment, they used Word. They had it on the computer screen and they typed everything that they were saying. It's a real crapshoot. Thank you. So Vicki, what's your question? Hi.
Hello, I'm Vicki from Colorado. And just to everybody, or maybe to Gail too, I have been in a situation where communication was just impossible. The hearing aid wasn't enough. I was not able to get within a 6-foot boundary of the business person I was speaking with. The distance was too far for my speech to text app. And it wasn't the type of encounter that we could write notes to each other, and she wouldn't do anything to move her mask to help. And I guess I just want to, have affirmation that sometimes it's just not going to work, and you just have to say, I'm sorry, this is not going to work. I can't hear you. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing you can do. Goodbye, sorry. Anybody go to that place and just have to accept that it's going to be impossible?
Well, I haven't given up, and I keep trying. One of the situations that's so difficult in connection to, if we think about hearing loops and things like that with our hearing aids, is when people are masked, it makes it really difficult for the hearing loop to become very effective for us to hear. So, that's kind of a nebulous place out there. Of the captioning apps, to the best of my knowledge, there's only one of them that allows for a two-way conversation, and that's Ava. And so theoretically, if you went, and I'm only mentioning it because theoretically, if you went to something that could be a doctor's appointment, it could be a financial situation. If the person who is talking to you has Ava on their phone and you have Ava on your phone, they connect and both of you speak at the same time, and you can maintain the 6-foot distance. And there's no other ASR app that I know of that you can do that with. I've been in the store and I tell them, they write notes to me. I mean, I completely understand. Gail Hannan has her hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, I have found with Otter, which I use, it's very good. So I understand what Ava does. I think that's wonderful. It's my understanding it's a paid subscription. But with Otter, I have found it picks both conversations up. So if you're holding it out to the Starbucks guy, it will pick up my voice as well. So that's a little bit different than what you were talking about, but most of it, and you can save it. You can save those conversations as well.
Yeah. So Gail, I've done the same thing as well. It depends on how far you can get that out there. So once you're past that distance, or depending on the importance of the conversation, like if I don't understand in Starbucks or something's a little off, it's not as important potentially as a medical situation. But there are a variety of apps. Everybody needs to try them.
And you can add another mic to your iPhone, so that extends the distance and the clarity.
Vicky, are you done?
Yes.
So you can. Okay, I'm gonna lower your hand. Diane Gross.
Hello. I was just thinking if you can find one of those collapsible grabbers, the things that you use to reach for something on the top shelf, you can put your phone on that and hold it out to somebody.
Oh.
Hey, I'm joking.
Well, actually, Diane, that's a really good idea. Those things that you use for selfies?
Yeah.
That would work perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
That's a wonderful idea.
Thank you. I didn't even think of my selfie. I was thinking of the grabber that I used to get something from under the bed, but the selfie stick is perfect. Okay. Gail, when will you be speaking next and where?
I am speaking on Wednesday to the Florida State Association and a couple more HLAA groups. And I'm still waiting. In the spring of this year, I had 8 trips canceled, which were, yes. And I was hoping at 2021, but that's not, I doubt I will be going to Budapest, Hungary this year either. But so I know I'll be speaking in Florida, and I'm somewhere in January. Oh, that's a different one. It's in Toronto. So nothing else with.
So I love Toronto.
Oh, well, I do too. It's just not as warm as where I live now. It's why I don't live there anymore. So those are the presentations I have coming up. And you've just reminded me that I need to put them on my website, which is gailhannan.com, my upcoming presentations. And I wanted to say to Anne, thank you for opening it up to people from other groups as well. It's and why wouldn't you? Why not? So this is great. And I will try to make my future presentations funnier. No, I'm just teasing you. Yeah. So, but
I was going to ask, are there anything on your schedule? Are you planning to be a little more humorous? I invited a friend here today because I said you were hilarious. So Adele, I hope you're not disappointed.
Well, I hope you're not disappointed either, but you can't, hearing loss isn't all that funny, people.
No. But
Really?
sometimes you have to let it be, laugh at yourself because you get in situations that you wouldn't be in.
Exactly. Okay. You just go back to your knitting there, Diane. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sue Pritchard.
A couple of things. One of the things that Gail said really resonated for me, going into a store and having an experience where you just simply can't communicate with the cashier. And I had a similar experience and came out and decided to come home and solve that problem. So I created a little card.
Oh, nice.
It's just a business card size. I printed it on my home printer. And when I go into the post office or the grocery store or the pharmacy, the first thing I do is hand this card to somebody. And it's very disarming to them. They go from a sort of resistance and kind of defensiveness to immediately to warmth and acceptance. It's really been kind of magical. I carry a whole stack of them in my purse with me and use them wherever I go. And I think they're really effective. It creates a conversation. They all understand immediately when they read this. They understand that because they can't hear either. They're hearing people and they're struggling as well.
Yeah, they are.
So this has been really magical for me. The other thing is I use a portable hearing loop all the time. I have it sitting here on my desk. I'm listening to the sound on my computer through the portable hearing loop. I also use it for socially distanced cocktail parties. My husband and I have a carport out here that we have set up with a couple of heaters and chairs distance apart. And I have my portable loop set up with an external microphone. The microphone has about a 20-foot cord, and I put the microphone over by my friends or my family who are there, and I have the portable loop right next to me, and I can hear perfectly. I use it for socially distanced book groups outside, same thing. So I just want to comment that those are a couple of tools that have really helped me survive. I live in Oregon, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Sue.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Sue and Geneva have a looping project, and is it Lane County? It's the Shed Institute in Lane County, right? Let's Loop Lane County.
Yes.
Yeah, but really, Anne, it's about loop people and then loop places. So that's sort of the different initiative. And I put an email up there. I can send anybody a copy of those PDFs to you. I may have to figure out how to copy this chat, but I will send that out to anybody that wants it. Or Anne, I can send it to you because I think you've got everybody's email address, right?
Yeah, but anybody can ask me and I'll make one for everybody. So it's no big deal.
Great. I'll send it to you in
But
PDF.
Sue, thanks for bringing it up for people to think about that.
And Sue, would you show your card again, please?
Yes.
Yeah, and you could print them on Avery business cards stock.
We stole that idea from HLAA, obviously from the cards that you can get. On the back of some of those cards, we also put a picture of the countertop loop so that they can give it to their boss. If it's Alan has one that shows that picture. And it says, your business could help me if you would get one of these countertop loops. And it's a way of looping places that don't need a gigantic loop. They may benefit from having a permanent installation in the countertop, but if they don't have that, this thing costs, $250 plus a $35 microphone, and it goes right through the plexiglass. It doesn't help with the masks, but you can hear through the plexiglass if the loop is on that side.
Thanks. Sarah Oser.
I wanted to respond to Vicky Pacheco. You asked if there's some situations that are impossible. And I usually do pretty well with a cochlear implant and hearing aid and mini mic and speech to text apps, all sorts of things. I was in the grocery store. I just purchased a lot of groceries. The cashier had on a mask. There was plexiglass. I had on my mask. And he was trying to tell me something. And he tried and I, whatever, it didn't work. And I just said, you know what? I need to get home and be safe. And as long as I'm not stealing the groceries, I believe I've paid for them. This is what I'm saying to myself. I've paid for these groceries, so he's not telling me that. It doesn't look like I'm in danger. So I'm just hoping there's nothing really important he had to say to me. So, and the bagger couldn't help me. She wasn't able to tell me what he said. So I just left. And I believe I figured out later, he was telling me he was giving me some coupons for next time, which is very nice. So that was a situation where I just really had to leave it for my own safety. Thank you.
It's amazing, Sarah, isn't it? When you're going, what are they saying? What are they saying? And, it's really not convenient to ask somebody to write it down. The grocery store, that's a really difficult thing. Thanks a lot. Teresa Kidwell. You need to unmute yourself, Teresa.
Hi, I'm Teresa Kidwell. I just want to introduce myself. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Thank you for inviting.
Welcome.
Yeah, so I'm not on the West Coast, but my son is moving to Los Angeles next July. So it would be my first time to come to California when I come out to visit him.
Hopefully, we'll all be vaccinated by then.
I agree.
Alan Untitled, I see your hand is still up. Do you have something else that you would like to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a recent experience. About a week ago, I had a minor medical problem and I had to go to urgent care. And, you know, everybody's got mask on. And by the way, I'm in Eugene, Oregon, and I used this card. And boy, that was just the best thing in the world, from the check-in person at the front desk to the physician assistant who took all the information, and they just passed the card along from individual to individual. And it made this whole experience at urgent care about 1,000% better. And I'm using these cards all the time now. I'm carrying them in my pocket, and boy, they just make it a pleasant experience where people just go out of their way to help me. So just wanted to share how positive this is.
Alan, I have a question to ask you. So for me, I walk in everywhere, and the first thing that I tell people, I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing. I can't understand anybody with a face mask. And I really haven't had any negative things from anybody about that. And generally, everybody goes out of their way to help me. So prior to using the card, were you telling people that to begin with? And what's the difference between telling people and the card?
You know, I just, there's just certain environments where it's just simpler before we even start saying anything. I just give them the card. You know, it takes all of 5 seconds to read it. And right away, the first words out of their mouth, they'll pull down their mask, or it just opens up a conversation because they ask a question, and I say, well, first of all, it's important that you, when you speak, face me. You know, because they're at a computer or a screen, and they'll do this, they'll be talking to me, and they go like that, and that's a deal breaker. So I find it's an easy way to start this conversation from the very get-go. I have done it verbally, but the cards just, and people keep them. I say keep it.
Thank you. So people here might not know, but in California, if you say that you have a hearing loss, people are required to lower their mask for you. But quite frankly, I do not want anybody to lower their mask for me. I think that that's a terrible idea. That means that I'm being put at greater risk for COVID-19 than the general population. But I wanted to mention that to people, that is an exclusion in case you didn't know that.
Yeah, I couldn't find, you know, there used to be a microphone.
That's what I was looking for this morning to see it, but I didn't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes. Number one, I wonder if I could get a picture or a copy of the card so I can copy it down to get a copy for myself.
Yeah, Ken, do you know what? We'll post one on our website, and everybody who was at this meeting can get it from there, or just email me.
That would be fine. And now that I've found the little microphone at the bottom right, I can hear people better.
Yeah.
Maybe. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ken, in the future, when you want to talk, click on participants, and in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a hand, and we'd like to ask that you click on that, and then we're notified that you want to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. So Teresa Kidwell, do you have something else you'd like to say? No. Okay, so we can lower your hand. Is there anybody else? Oh, Juliet Sturkins. No, that's Juliet. No, that's hand waving. Juliet, do you want to say anything since you're here, by the way?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Good morning, Juliet.
Good morning. I was doing breakfast earlier, but some people apparently were thinking it was lunch. Anyway, I am going to be doing a couple of lectures in January, so maybe I can share them with you, Anne. One is for a retirement community in Madison for the Learning and Retirement Group. And I'm doing some webinars for other HLAA chapters. They're not just focused on loops, contrary to what some people may think, that all I do is talk about hearing loops. I sometimes talk about other subjects. And frequently they address additional tools that you can put in a toolkit, so to speak, to hear better. So love hearing you talk, Gail. It's always good to hear you and see you at the same time. And if you have any questions about large hearing loops, I am not the expert on the small hearing loops yet. Feel free to contact me. I'm always ready to write a letter or support you in your efforts to get a loop installed in your community.
Yep. Juliet, you know, I've known you for so long, it didn't dawn on me that there could possibly be people here who don't know who you are. Could you say what your actual role is in HLAA?
I'm an audiologist. I'm approaching almost 40 years in the field of audiology and speech language pathology. And I retired 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago, it's hard to believe, to become HLAA's hearing loop advocate. So I give lots of lectures around the country. At first, it was just about loops and explaining how loops work. Believe it or not, there's thousands of people who wear hearing aids who don't know that they have a T-coil in the hearing aid that they could use to hear better. But you know, it's not just about hearing in a hearing loop, it's about hearing everywhere. So a lot of my lectures focus on that. I have a website called Loop Wisconsin. It's all one word. I very rarely blog. I admire, Gail, all your blogs every week or every 2 weeks. I just can't do it. But I'm always willing to answer questions about hearing aids, or if you're struggling with an issue with an audiologist and hearing aids, I'm happy to try and help you resolve issues or questions that you may have. So, and there's a couple of articles that you can read. There's also videos of mine online. Some of them are very nicely captioned. So if you'd like to see more of me, feel free to email me at jsturkins@hearingloss.org and I'll send you some links.
And if you'd like more information about hearing loops in general, you can email it's an acronym, GITHL info, get in the hearing loop info at hearingloss.org. Any other questions or comments? Oh, actually, you can see it on my sign back there. Yeah. Well, usually we find that sometimes it takes people a little while to get up courage to raise their hand, but it seems like I think that we're done for the day. And I'd like to wish all of you a very, very happy holiday, no matter how you spend it, whether it's just with your most immediate family, whether it's via creative ways of Zoom, and know that what we are going through, what we've been going through, will be the event of probably several hundred years. So people are going to be talking about this for a really long time. So Gail, thank you very much. To you too, my friend and colleague, Juliet Sturkins, all of my friends who join, friends, colleagues, fellow hearing loss advocates, and others who join from around the country. We're delighted.
And best wishes to you, Anne, for your successful surgery.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm kind of nervous, you know, of course, but
Of course.
Thank you, Ann.
oh, the other events that are coming up this week, I should be able to post those on our website. Have put a piece up, and so that you know, there's a new calendar function on our website, and we're trying to post things. Gail, I might even put your things on the calendar, so at least everybody who's associated with our chapter, and HLAA Leaders has a calendar as well. I'd go ahead and put them on there for you. Okay, everybody, have a happy holiday.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us.